Hello, and welcome to The Executive Appeal, a show that convenes the world's most powerful and successful leaders to share mentoring and career advancement advice to help you successfully transition into senior level executive positions. I'm your host, Alex Tremble, award-winning speaker, author, and leadership expert with over a decade of experience coaching and advising some of our nation's most senior level government leaders. So if you're ready to reach your goals, let's get started.
Hey, welcome, you ambitious leaders, to another power-packed episode of The Executive Appeal. I am your host, Alex Tremble, and I am thrilled to have you join us today. This is the podcast where we go beyond the ordinary, moving past the cliches of just work hard to actually uncover the true secrets of success at the executive level. And again, you know this already. I am not just your amazingly handsome host. I am also international, prolific keynote speaker and executive coach. So if you're looking for and seeking out an engaging and motivational speaker for your next event, look no further. I've had the privilege of addressing audiences around the world, sharing insights that go beyond the surface and leaving a long-lasting approach. Whether it's developing meaningful relationships with your teams, your mentors, clients, and other fellow executives, or if it's your focus to provide your audience with the strategies required to achieve exceptional results in the face of life's complex challenges, I've got you covered. So don't miss out on your opportunity to elevate your team and stakeholders' potential. Visit alextremble.com, ALEXTREMBLE.com, and book me for your next event today. Let's make your next event unforgettable together. And now, with no further ado, let me say, today is a good day. See, today we have the always spectacularly dressed Mr. Jason Risoli. He is an accomplished human resource professional with over 20 years of experience in various industries. He has a proven track record of driving business improvement through employee engagement, enhancement, company culture, and strategies initiatives. Look, in the past, Jason has served as the Senior Director for People Operations for Sears Home Services, yes, the Sears, as Vice President for Human Resources at U.S. Foods. This is really freaking cool. And he is currently serving as an advisory board member at Airvent and founder of Grassroots Talent Solutions. How are you doing today, kind sir?
Alex, I am doing fantastic, and I am so welcome. Enjoying to be here, and I don't know, I'm like starstruck here. You know, you teed me up like I've never been teed up before.
Dude, here's the plan, right? If we all are teeing up each other like that and we're uplifting each other, I think we can all win, right? Versus thinking that, it's a zero-sum game.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, first off, happy Earth Day to everybody out there. We gotta take care of what's most important to all of us. One thing that we all share together as a human being is the Earth. And so happy Earth Day to you, Alex, and everyone out there.
Thank you, kind sir. As a former leader within the Department of the Interior and the National Park Service, yes, you're right. Earth Day is extremely important. And I know everyone out there doing some really great stuff. Regardless of when you hear this episode, I think every day is Earth Day because if you don't have an Earth, kind of got a SOL. So yeah. I want to get into this. I have a question for you, and I've been thinking about this a lot. You've had the opportunities to serve within executive level positions, very senior executive level positions within very large and complex organizations. And we consistently hear this question in our world about, doing it all and having it all and so on and so forth. However, I am a huge proponent when I'm talking to my clients, I always tell them that reaching that level of success is much more about doing less than it is about doing more. That is being very intentional about where you put your time, your energy, your focus, and then removing those things from your life that don't have as much value, that don't provide as much to your organization, to your family, whatever it may be. So I'm going to tee up the question asking, one, what are your reactions to that thought process? But two, if you agree, like, what in your life did you feel like you had to give up in order to gain the success and the family you have today?
Yeah, great question. So I have some management philosophies that I live by, and we'll probably touch on them all, but the one that you're touching on is like work smart, not hard, and that kind of goes throughout life. But I do think it's also work hard to get at what you're at. So it's kind of contradictory, but I think everyone has to work hard in order to get to achieve the things that they want to achieve. But it's working smart as well in order to get there. And some of the things is discipline. It's self-discipline. It's making sure that you're putting in the effort that's needed, because everyone's blessed with the same 24 hours a day, right? We've always heard that it's what you do with that 24 hours that drives who's successful and who's not. All right. And what I do is I try and win the day early, and I make sure that I set up exactly what I want to get to throughout the day, and make sure that I am either setting a list of things that I want to achieve, or making sure that I am throughout the day staying focused on the achievements that I'm looking to have, be it, making sure I get my exercise in, making sure I eat healthy, making sure that I'm achieving my list of top 3 or 5 things to do, making sure that I'm not getting distracted on things that are taking away from that list. So, whether or not I'm achieving that list is a huge proponent of making sure I'm successful. And again, starting the day early. So right self, right mind is very important to getting to what you're talking about right now.
So you hit on some really big ones for people, at least for me, I'll say. You talked about getting up and starting early. I want to make this concrete for everyone. You talk about getting up and starting early. That means that you are then choosing to give up sleeping in. You're making a conscious decision because you want to start your day earlier and do certain things. You talked about eating right. You're healthy. So you're now making a conscious decision. If you were, I don't know, I assume you weren't, but if you were someone who ate a full Pizza Hut pizza for lunch, breakfast, and dinner every day, you'd have to give that up in order to be healthy. Unless you're, burning calories like, what's his name? The swimmer, oh my God, from Baltimore. I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah.
Michael Phelps, right?
Yep.
His calorie intake was crazy, but because he worked out so hard, right? And so you then also mentioned you're very intentional about trying to push things out of your life that may be distractions from reaching your goals. So can I ask you, what are some of those distractions that you ultimately said, you know what, even though this thing may seem urgent, it may seem quote unquote important, that is it's still a distraction because my focus needs to be over here.
Correct. And obviously the biggest one is right here. It's the cell phone, right? So scrolling the cell phone and, and being on that, you can't, as much as people say, oh, I can do 2 things at once. Yeah, you can. I can scroll a phone and look at a television at once, but which one are you focusing on, right? Which one is you utilizing your brain power in order to accomplish what you're looking to set out for, and getting to what you said earlier about starting early. Yes, life is a decision, and I tell my kids, and I have 3 of them, but specifically I tell the oldest one because he gets it the most is, every person has, there's 3 types of people in this world, okay? People who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and people who complain about things that happen to them. Which one are you going to be in life? The person that makes things happen, right?
Yeah.
But in order to do that, it's about making that decision to make things happen, right? I make the decision to get up early and struggle with that. I make the decision to eat healthy and give up the things that are not healthy for me. All right. I make the decision to accomplish my tasks, and I make the decision not to be distracted by the things that distract you throughout the day. So yes, the cell phone is the obvious number one. A lot of people still, distracted by television, and there is a time and a place for that, right? Yeah. There is a time. It's not saying give it up in total. Right? This is not technology celibacy, right? Where you can't ever touch it again, right? It's just, I love watching some shows with my wife, but there's a time, right? There's a time when we do that together. Okay. So there's, so that's what it goes to. And, but those are the two main things nowadays is the technology distractions that are not productive.
I love everything you say. I love the way you say it too. I think I'm gonna be able to go a direction with you in a second, because I think you and I are in alignment. I want to put, I'll be a little, I'll put myself out there too, really quickly, in regards to things I've had to give up. For me, this is a personal thing, right? For me, for my career, my goals, and so on and so forth. There have been relationships I've had to give up.
Correct.
There have been people who I thought were really nice people, it was not productive for me to be around. Or I say cool people, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in places and spaces where, people did certain things. And I don't knock anyone's way about life and living. It's like you said, their choice, their decision. And a lot of those things are highly, it's highly influenced by your surroundings. And so I learned really early, like, hey, like I remember there's a guy I actually went to college with, really cool guy, great guy, graduated to college, went back home, was sitting on his porch and got caught in the drive-by. He had nothing to do with anything, was sitting on the porch, right? And so he was in a space where, did he need to be in that space? And not everyone has those drastic situations in their life, but are you in spaces where it's not as productive? So I'm going to use the phrase that you said. I absolutely loved it. I hope you don't mind me using this. You said, if you want to be a millionaire, hang out with billionaires. That means you're being intentional with who you put yourself around, because they're a certain caliber. When did you first learn that bit of advice, that mindset, and how have you implemented that into your life?
Yeah. So first off, you're exactly correct about disconnecting from people that are not helping you progress forward. And if you choose to keep them in your life because they're family or something, and they're not someone that you absolutely can disconnect yourself from, you have to constantly remind yourself of what your purpose is here and what your goal is and who you're doing this for. Most importantly, you're not doing it for that person who's saying you can't do it. You're doing it for the person within you that's saying, yes, you can. Or you're doing it for your wife and your children or something like that. You're doing it for that greater purpose. Okay. So that, so if you do choose to keep those people in your life, it's understanding, never lose mindset and sight of that, what that purpose is and what that goal is for. So getting back to your point of millionaires and billionaires, right? It's just proven, right? So that's why people have networks that, they establish, and you establish networks around people that have, let's just put it this way. There's a reason why they had the Good Old Boys Network. There's a reason why they have the golf clubs, the prestigious golf clubs where they say, oh, all the big sales deals get done on the golf course, right? Because they do. There is history there. And those are, people want to see their friends succeed. People open up doors to other people because of that, right? Most executives get placed in other executive opportunities because they have a relationship with a person in that company that's at that same level or a higher level. But that's also some of the reason that's led to some negative things in life as well, though, right? DEI initiatives are in place now because some of those pre-existing Good Old Boys networks and millionaires, billionaires hanging around each other, and exclusive societies that have only allowed certain people to become millionaires. That's why there's been other initiatives in place to make sure there's a lot more level playing ground for everybody to succeed. But again, let's not forget, success is only, very few people gain success through luck. Not very, very few people win the lottery. It's really through dedication and the struggles, because it is a tough thing to achieve success and becoming a millionaire or becoming someone that is famous or, very successful in business. It's because it's deserved. People aren't just handed things. So I don't want to take away from the standpoint that it's hard work, but absolutely hanging around people that are influential, who are more wealthy or better off, do lead to better opportunities. Absolutely. And how did I find that? Again, I've been around the block. I do have some gray hairs that have shown up in there. But I will admit, money comes to money. And I've hung around some people in life that have had some money. And while I hung around with them, it led to opportunities where I could make some money. So, I did flip houses at one point. Okay. And I only was able to do that because I was backed by someone who had a lot of money, a lot of cash. I didn't have the money. They did, but that opened up a door to flip houses at one point in my life, and become a landlord to many row homes in an urban area. So I would not have had that opportunity had it not been for an individual who had, was a quote unquote a 1%er, right, in this society. And similarly, opportunities like even now where I'm consulting for a very large company. I got that through a referral. Granted, I was hired based on my knowledge and skills, but I got to that opportunity through another executive who put their name out there for me. Okay. So again, it absolutely, that network is very, very important. And those were good people in my life, good inspirations. Those were not people that were holding me back, that were dragging me down, that were full of drama, who were naysayers. They were the people that were saying, we can do this, or let's do this together, or I want to put you out there because I know you're a good person. So it's positive influences. I know, long answer. I'm sorry.
No, perfect answer. Perfect answer. I love everything you're saying. And just that last little thing you said, the positive influences in your life, like just the reality of when someone's consistently telling you, not that they're trying to undermine, not that they're trying to knock you off the path to your goals, but they're consistently saying how hard everything is and how fair everything is, and you'll never be able to do it, or we'll never be able to, we weren't from there. They're never going to let us in. Like, if someone is consistently raising barriers to your goal, like, that's at the bare minimum cognitively draining. Because you don't have to fight you have to fight emotionally to say, okay, even that person's saying it, I know I can still do it. I know I can still do it. It's so much easier to not have that there or have someone saying, hey, you can do this. We can do this. Let's figure this out. Yes, it's hard, but there's someone's done it before. What's the saying? Everyone thinks you're crazy until you do it, right? Like that's how it works. And so I love everything you're talking about. I was recently interviewed for another podcast myself, talking about my book, Relationships That Work. And the person in that who's interviewing me, a wonderful woman, she shared that she's like, Alex, as I read your book, I loved it. And you really pushed some buttons. Like, it made me feel a little uncomfortable, because she said there's a few times in there where you said stuff that I understand is true, but it doesn't make me feel good. And one of the things I talk about is like, look, the world is not fair. The world is not fair. And here's the reality. I'll talk about myself, and I'll talk about some random person. You and me, whoever that you is, you are not the best person in the world at what you do. It's just from a statistical standpoint, you are not the best person. There's only one person who could be the best, and there's probably somewhere else, right? Yet you were hired for what you do. And so what my point is that you don't necessarily have to be the best. Yes, work hard, but those relationships, people want to work with other people who they trust, who they believe is loyal, people who are trustworthy, who have good values. Like, be you, put yourself in those situations, as Jason was saying, around people who have the ability to help you. And again, you can be around great people, but if those people don't have the ability to help you, or reach your goals, or you to help them reach their goals, again, I'm not trying to be mean or dismissive, But if you have goals, and again, Jason, I'm going to show up in a second, but Jason talked about understanding your why. Why are you doing this? Are you doing it for your family? Are you doing it for your community? Then if those things and those people are important to you, you should be intentionally allocating your time and resources to those individuals who you can help, and they can help you reach those goals.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really two categories of people: people with good intentions and people with bad intentions, right? And when being around those people, it's fine if you're around people with bad intentions sometimes, because all it does is, again, it's reaffirming, one, the fire that's in your belly, and two, reaffirming your goals of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it should be because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the person with that negative intention. I choose to live my life with positive intention. I choose to be the good influence to my family and my children, and to my surrounding community, or my church, or whatever is important in your life. So, it's making sure that you live your life to its fullest. And honestly, that's my sixth management philosophy is just enjoying the people that you're around, enjoying trying to make sure that everyone's living happily and joyfully around you, because honestly, that's what the secret of life is, in my opinion. So that's actually my sixth management philosophy on the six that I have. And the number one that is always my guiding one is the golden rule, which is treat others as you wish to be treated. So, and I live by those every day, both personally and professionally, those guiding principles.
Man, you say so much great stuff. Okay, so really quickly, I want to bring this. I'm gonna tee this up for you and see what you say about it. You also said something I think was really cool. It's decisions. We all are making decisions. We can decide to get up. We can decide to stay in bed. We can decide to go after that great opportunity, or we can decide to go after what's safe. We can decide that the list goes on and on. But they are all decisions that ultimately we should take responsibility for. Now, again, before I let Jason respond to this, I wanted to be very careful and very intentional at saying that, again, life is not fair, and we are all not placed in the same situations with the same opportunities and resources. So even as we're making decisions, our decisions may be harder than other people. Absolutely. But for me, it's my question then becomes, so what? If your situation is much more difficult than someone else's situation, then what's the alternative? Either you work hard you figure out a way, not work hard. Yes, you work hard. That doesn't take everyone out. You figure out a way to get yourself out of that situation and reach your goals. Or you say, it's not fair. I guess I'll stay in this situation, which I don't like. And again, that's a decision. So I want to hear your reactions to the importance of taking responsibility for your own decisions. And, again, if it's, even when those decisions may be hard or uncomfortable, they're still decisions. Is that what do you agree with that philosophy?
Well, again, you can only take responsibility for your decisions if you're willing to, right? And the people that don't make those decisions typically aren't taking the responsibility because they're number two or number three. They're either watching things happen in their life, or they're complaining about things happening to them, and it's not their fault. Oh, this happened to me because of, or that's not fair because, this happens to me, or I can't get ahead because this happens to me. So yes, you're right on point, Alex. It's everybody makes the decision, okay, to take responsibility, okay, for their success. But the people that aren't willing to take responsibility for things that happen in their life will usually not gain that success. They will usually not make things happen. So of course, people that are successful take responsibility, but I will say certain things, good leaders often will not take responsibility for success. They will share in that responsibility,
yes.
that success with their team. Right. Yes. So like they say, good leaders take responsibility for the mistakes. Great leaders take responsibility, and then they also give the recognition to their staff. So that's part of servant leadership, which is another philosophy of mine in my 6 management philosophies. But I will agree with you 100%. There's no reason why Kobe Bryant Okay, you've all heard this about him doing the 3 days, right? 3 practices a day, waking up at 3, being in the gym at 3 o'clock in the morning, every morning, because he made the decision that everybody else was doing 2 a days. And the only way to get ahead of people was doing 3 a day, right? Purposeful, consistent, okay, determined. He knew his why. He knew what it was going to have to take to get there. And he stayed with that, okay? And I bet you there was a day that he missed and he kicked himself in the tush for missing that day. But what did he do to make up for it? He got back in the next day and went even harder. Okay. And that's what you have to do in life is, fine. Nobody's perfect. Nobody, but it's just get back on the saddle, right? Fall down 7 times, get up 8, right? Like they always say, that's how you do it. You just gotta, there is no secret, recipe. There is no secret thing to do. Okay. And to get ahead, it's just doing it. It's making the decision to do it and consistently do it and do it every day. And when you make a mistake, don't make it a second time. Just keep back on and keep going. And that's a decision. Okay. And just know your goal, right? Know your goal, know your role, know your why, and know who it's for, whether it's yourself or it's for your loved ones or for something else. Know it, keep it in your sights and keep going for it.
You said, oh man, so oh my God, you're over here preaching. So yes, and on all of those, and you make me think of, you said, you make a mistake. I was speaking at an event recently, a big conference, and I talked about the idea of mistakes and that you can only make mistakes so many times. You can only make a mistake, I would say maybe once, twice. You're pushing that 3. I think you can only make mistakes so many times, because after so many times, it's not a mistake. It's a choice. You are choosing to do this. You did something. There is a reaction. There is a result to what you did, and now you are choosing to do it again. And again, we can't also give ourselves those outs and say, "Oh, it was a mistake." No. You've done this way too many times for it to be a mistake. You are making a choice now. And you said there's no secret. This is a really funny thing that guy said. He said, what I found out later in my life is that all the successful people, they hid the secrets of being successful in books and no reason. And his point was like, there is so much knowledge out there in these videos, in these podcasts, in these books, and so on and so forth. But you have to be willing to do 2 things. One, consume it. Make a conscious decision, as Jason was saying, to not play words with friends on whatever cool app game it's right now. Okay, make a conscious decision not to do that, but to invest in their time into growth. And then not just listen and consume it, but do something. You have to take action. Just listening or reading something does not change anything. In order for things to change, you must change. And when I say change, it means change your behaviors. I want to ask you, because again, you are a very proven, shown executive leader, and you have your organization, Grassroots Talent Solutions. And I thought about this as we were planning for the day. I think one of the most important decisions a leader can make that has the largest impact on the success of their team and ultimately their organization is who they hire. So, how do you hire effectively? What recommendations would you have for executive leaders and senior leaders who are hiring top-level talent for these very important jobs, very expensive jobs, right? If it doesn't work, it's going to cost you some money, cost you some effort, cost you a lot of time. What's the advice you have for making those strong hires?
So proven, it goes back to what you just introduced me as: proven background, proven results. Okay, and how do you know someone's proven? Well, if they're in a leadership role and they have a name for themselves out there, you kind of can see what they've done from their past experiences, because it's more and more things are accessible on the internet now. especially at the executive level of performance, and whether or not it was articles written about them or things like that. But honestly, the best is referrals. Again, getting back to that whole network, working someone's network is, if you can bring someone in through a referral based on a proven background, that is always the most effective hire at all levels of an organization, because that person bringing them in is tied to that individual, and that individual that's coming in doesn't want to fail, and make that other person look bad. So they have an incentive to give their best. Obviously, in an interview process, it's always making sure you don't assume, right? During an interview process, figure it out with your questions. Dig deep. Take that extra round of interviews if you need to. Bounce the hiring decision off, through a peer or a panel interview. Because if someone's going to slip up, they may not slip up on the first interview or the second, but by the fifth or the sixth interview especially at executive level, they would have slipped up, right? And then by then, if they didn't know what they were talking about, or if they were going, giving it a bunch of line of something, not knowing what they were saying. So, and then the last thing I always kind of say is inspect what you expect, right? So, if you're expecting someone to know something, then inspect it. Okay, don't just if you want. So again, it's using those examples, whether or not it's during an interview, or if you're seeing performance that they should be having, make sure that they're able to prove it to you one way or another. Or same thing with workload. If it's someone that's already in the company, making sure if they're doing what they say they do, then you should be able to inspect what they're doing. Okay, so that way you have the expected outcome that you want. So don't just take things for granted from that perspective. But yeah, referrals are by far the best type of hires. I always say great leaders aren't the smartest one in the room. They just surround themselves with the smartest people. I mean, look at our president. All of them, I would say. They're not there. I'm just saying they're not there because they're the smartest person.
Exactly.
They're there, and I don't care if you're Democrat, Independent, or Republican, or whatever. Okay, but they're there because they know how to build teams, and they know how to bring people together. So that's why they're seen as the leaders, when they get to those positions. So that's what I'm kind of just making an example of, is that the best leaders aren't necessarily the smartest people. They just surround themselves with smart people because they know how to build teams.
I love that. I love that you call that out. The best people aren't always the smartest people. I love that. I hope everyone's taking note of that. And I'd love to hear in the chat box, the chat section, what are your thoughts about that? What have you experienced in regards to hiring or going through the hiring process yourself? What do you think people are looking for? One last thing I want to throw at you before we start to wrap up, and I'll open the floor back to you. When you're looking at those top level positions, then the challenge, the additional challenge you're working with is they're all high flyers, right? I mean, at some level, there's a complete difference between, looking between, people for a coordinator position, maybe a manager position. But once you start getting into those senior executive level positions, generally speaking, everyone who's applying for that job is a freaking all-star. And so now I think it becomes even that much more difficult because you're selecting, you're looking at all the different diamonds and say, okay, which diamond is the best?
Yeah, no, I agree. And that gets back to like a sports analogy. The best teams aren't necessarily the ones that are made of all-stars. It's which ones are most cohesive and play off each other. Yeah. So it's just like looking for a business partner, right? Like Alex, you own your own company, and if you were going to bring in a business partner, you're going to bring in someone who's just strictly an all-star who might rub the wrong way, or you're going to bring in the yang to your yin. Yeah. You're going to bring in someone with that slightly different skill set, or that someone that can work off you well, right? You look at two basketball players, all right? You don't need two power forwards, right? You need a forward and a guard, right? And you need guys that can work off each other. Same thing with baseball, or any sport. You need someone who's both a QB and a receiver. You don't need two QBs. So you need to be able, and then you need to get two guys that are in sync with each other. some of the best duos in sports ever, because two guys, Stockton and Malone, right? Back in the Utah Jazz, completely different guys. But guess what? They knew where each other were on the court at all times, like they knew how to, give and goes all day long because they could play off each other. They had that cohesiveness. And that's what you kind of look for, even in executive teams, when you're playing with all these people that are perceived as all-stars. You need to find that one who has that right little niche of talent that'll catapult the team to a higher level, but also will fit in with the team, and so that way they can create that magic. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. So my last question before I open the floor for you. So this is a question I started asking a few months ago, actually, in regard to every podcast guest. So again, a lot of my clients, a lot of my listeners are first time within their generation of being executive leaders and senior leaders. That means that they now have access to things and opportunities for their children that they did not have access for themselves. And so that is always a challenge at times. Like, am I being too hard? Am I being too lenient? Am I giving too much? Am I not giving enough? I'd love to hear from you. What is it that you believe helps make raise good human beings? Like, what's your advice on, something that you did or some philosophy or some thought you're like, hey, this helped me raise really good kids?
Yeah, great question. And, I just, from when I talk about my children, right, what I want them to have life a little bit easier than I had it. And guess what? That's the same exact thing that my parents wanted for me. And I'm sure the same exact thing that my grandparents wanted for my parents. And it's just that human evolution is that you just want them to have life be a little bit easier than you had it. And that means, you doing your best to set them up for success. Okay. Teaching them knowledge and skills and abilities to be successful. I have a quote that I mention all the time: strive relentlessly to embody your greatest potential. Right. And that, that's the quote I came up with. And I live by that. I live by that every day to try and, give my greatest potential, become my greatest potential. But in doing that, I'm only as good as my legacy. Right.
Yeah.
So that's everyone's, end goal, right? Your end goal is not getting $1 million in your bank account, right? It might be, you think it might be, but your question goes back to your children. That's your legacy. No matter who you are in this world, the most rich billionaires in the world, in the world, it's about their legacy. What are they going to be known for? That they can help others. Yeah. And then what do they leave it behind to the next generation, their heirs? That's why kingdoms and fiefdoms and everything like that in history was all about prepping the next kingdom, the next king or the next queen, the bloodline, because it was all about the legacy, and it's still about that. So again, it's trying to make sure, one, you early on instilling your children right from wrong, good from bad, and the basics of being prepared to be men and women, productive members of society. But then it's also about setting them up for success. So our struggles will hopefully set them up for those successes. So hopefully that answers what you were looking for.
Hey, thank you so much, Jason. This is absolutely wonderful. I love this segment of the episode. I learned so much. Everyone knows I got a little 9-month-old kid right now. And so I get the benefit of I get the benefit of every conversation. I get to learn something new to bring to the table. Jason, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to open the floor for you. Any advice, thoughts, anything you have to share with the audience as we begin to wrap up?
One thing I would say is, I'm the first person that was ever an executive of my family as well, right? I'm the first person that ever graduated from college in my family, and I didn't just stop there. I got my master's. So, it's keep once you reach one goal in life, go to the next one. Once you reach that goal, go to the next one. Keep pushing. But you said it early. Life is a decision. Every decision or every moment in your life is a decision. Okay. There's one thing that that you can never do. You can never relive the minute that we just had. the hour we just had. Okay. That's one thing that you can never do. So live, they say it on purpose, live in the moment, because each moment is a decision in your life. And every single moment in your life could be a life-changing decision. Doesn't matter who you are, a homeless person, someone hitting a crack pipe right now, somebody that's about to lay it all on red or black at their last dollar. Someone that's about to take, say I do to the person that they think they love, right? Every moment is a decision. Someone who's hitting that accelerator on the car to see how fast it goes. Yeah. Every single moment is a decision. And the next moment is never guaranteed to any of us. Never. No matter if you're 1 day old or 115 years old, nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. So live in the moment, and every moment make the decision to that is going to progress you to where you want to be in life. It's never.
Jason, you're freaking amazing, man. Thank you so much for joining us today. You are amazing. You're awesome. I'm looking forward to staying connected with you and you being part of my network. Audience, you know where we're going with this. If you found something of value today, don't just keep it to yourself. Don't just look back, reach back. Bring someone else to the table. Click the like, click subscribe. Make sure you say something in the comments section. All of your engagement allows this podcast to be shown to more and more and more people. And that means that we have the ability to impact the lives of more and more and more people. So thank you so much for being here. For our guests, for everyone who's been listening with us. And if you haven't read the book, Relationships That Work, we were just talking about how important those are today. Pick it up on Amazon today. As always, I encourage you, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Executive Appeal with Alex Tremble. I invite you to follow The Executive Appeal wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me, your host, Alex Tremble, across all, and definitely stay moving.